Happy Sunday, everyone. Chris Durrell here with patreon.com/Jagerbombs. That's where you can get my sheets. You can also get them over r.com as well as rotopros.com. Do NASCAR content for all three, including my sheets, articles, videos, things like that. One coaching in the chat, so make sure to check that out. Before we get started, I am using a new streaming service, so if something isn't working right, please just throw that up in the comments, and I will make sure to get that fixed here shortly. I'm just going to share the links here so that we can move on. We can talk some NASCAR, talk some plays. We got a awesome Talladega race coming here, so let me share these links and we will get started. You have multiple spots to share them, so just give me a second here. Like I said, join in to the chat here. Throw me some of your favorite plays, questions. I'm going to talk some strategy here shortly as well. We'll get into that. We get a few people joining in here, so sharing it on all the social media and all my chats. About 7 different places I'll be sharing it here. Oh, we'll see how that goes. So we'll get that down. We have shared that. I'm going to go over here. Test the chat. Like I said, this is a new streaming service that I'm using through, it's not recording through YouTube, it's recording through another service and putting it through, it's called StreamYard, using the free version just because I was using OBS Studios before and I was having some issues with, like my internet isn't great here where I am, but I've always been able to do stuff before in terms of videos and stuff like that. So, but this connection on StreamYard seems to not slow down my computer as much. So if it's not working for you though, definitely let me know and I will get that adjusted here as soon as possible. But I do have that shared now. So we are going to talk, I'm going to do NASCAR show here. We are talking the YellaWood 500 at Talladega. It is the second playoff race of the second round here. So we got a lot on the line for some of these drivers. First thing we want to talk about in terms of DFS whenever we are at Talladega or Daytona, the super speedways, is that we are looking at place differential. You know, we look at the 1.5 mile tracks, short tracks where there's like 500 laps, 400 laps, 300 laps, that sort of thing. We're always looking for a dominator, usually 1 or 2 drivers to lead 100 or more laps. It's not going to be the case here at Talladega at these super speedways, just because it's, you know, the guys that are starting in the back can make it to the front within 1, 2, 3 laps even. So we're going to be looking at that place differential. I'm going to share the sheet here shortly. If my audio kicks out, please let me know. I did test this and I think it is going to work. So I'm just going to shoot that across to the screen share here. Blow that up just so we can see it a little bit better. Few new tabs. If you can go full screen on the view here, and you can see it a little bit better. But pretty much just what I want to show you is some of the new tabs I added to the sheet here. And the first one was just some of the data that I pull from. I decided to throw it in the sheet so you can use it for your research purposes. So this one here is just looking at super speedway finishes for everyone in the field since the start of 2019. So that gives us 7 races. That is 3 this year and 4 last year. So that mixes all the Daytona and Talladega. I've got it color-coded for finishes here if you want to look across. Right now it's sorted by average finish. Again, if you go and create your own copy of the cheat sheet just by going top left, file, make a copy, you'll then be able to edit the sheet and sort rows kind of to help you with your own personal research. So make sure to check that out. But right now I've got it sorted by average finish. So we can look at drivers like Denny Hamlin, for instance, 7. Almost every driver in the field is going to have 7 races here in this sample size. He's got 2 wins, 5 top 5s in those 7 races, 141 laps led, average start, average finish, average run, that sort of stuff. And then race by race, we can look at where starting position, finish, average run, DK and FanDuel points, how many laps they led, which isn't going to be too relevant here at this track. Some things I'm going to be adding in the future to this is correlations down here at the bottom, drivers that led a certain amount of laps, that sort of thing. Kind of what you see over here on the track history detailed tab. When we go to the bottom at the 1.5 miles and short tracks, we've got correlation from start to finish. We've got how many drivers led 20, 50, 75, 100 laps led, that sort of thing. So that will be more. Right now, it was just a matter of getting it up and on live streaming today, just so that we can, actually get back to the live videos here, trying to do what I can with the connection that I have. So I will be adding more and more as we go. I know the season's kind of winding down for NASCAR, but next season we will be looking at a little bit more in terms of the live streams every Sunday, as well as some race previews start of the week when we start getting the depending, we don't really know about qualifying and practices for next season yet, so we're going to kind of wait on that. But I'm probably going to be doing like a midweek preview, kind of looking at concentrating on track history, track type history, that sort of thing. And then as we get into the live show on Sunday, we're going to talk more strategies for DFS that day, who I'm concentrated on, who my core plays are and that sort of thing. All right. So now that we've looked at those tabs, the track history detailed, so that will be just for Daytona. Then we've got the fantasy matrix here as well. So there are some of my plays that you will see as a member. You're going to see that on the sheet. So make sure to check that out. So first things first, like I said, place differential. So when I build a lineup for the Cup Series, I am not including more than one driver who is starting top 10. We start breaking down optimal lineups each and every time, seeing, which starting spots produce the most average DraftKings points, looking at either whether you're looking at 2, 5, 10, no matter what size of sample size you're looking at. It comes down to guys starting at the back. So it's a little bit tougher in this pandemic, I guess, we'll call it pandemic racing, because we've had no qualifying, we've had no practices. The field is being set early on. It was set kind of by your owner points, and now it's kind of performance included in there. So instead of getting 2 or 3 of maybe some of the top drivers starting outside the top 25 or something like that, where we can gain some elite place differential plays, a lot of those top drivers are going to be starting forward. So it does add a little bit more risk. It's going to make the lineups a little bit more chalky, I think, because some plays definitely do stand out. But pretty much my core, like I said, in every lineup is going to maybe have one driver starting top 10, but it's not going to have more than 2. So that's one of the main things that I'm concentrating on today for sure. All right. So, the salary at the top, we've got Chase Elliott, not bad. He's not going to be a core play for me just because he's starting 10th again. But of the guys, looking at Hamlin up to Elliott here, the guy's 97 and up, he's definitely number 1 for me. He showed a lot of ups. It's pretty close with Logano. Those would probably be my top 2 starting 8th and 10th. If you are concentrated on someone starting top 10, those would be my top 2. So you can see they do have upside. I will jump across here back to the sheet. Elliott crashed out earlier Talladega race, but he won. And you look at Logano, 17th last race, 11th, but he had a run of top 5s, 3 wins in the last 10. He's led the most laps of anyone here, so he could get up front, maybe lead a few laps. I mean, that could be the difference between first and, maybe finishing, just doubling your money kind of thing, is just a few laps led because there is so few of them. And I think these guys are obviously going to be low, and just because of the place differential. But if we're looking at building around a place differential today, obviously it looks crazy that Brendan Gaughan, who races only 4 times a year and only on these super speedways, it is his final season. This will actually be his final race of his career. He's retiring. The reason he's so expensive, he's starting at the back of the field, 39th, gives us elite place differential. As you can see, he's been solid at Daytona. If we slide over and even just look at his super speedway stats since the start of last year, he's got 3 10s in 7 races, average finish of 16.1, average start of like 35th. So that right there, he is picking up almost elite place differential almost every time. That's why he is 9,500 on DraftKings. I don't think he needs to be a core play, but you really need to consider him right up there. And then on FanDuel, I mean, only 5K. So I mean, that's kind of your punt play if you're jamming top guys. Place differential is only worth half as much on FanDuel, so you can go with maybe a little bit more. 2 drivers maybe starting in that, let's say, 8th to 12th range. Rather, I wouldn't do that on DraftKings. I can see that on FanDuel just because of the place differential is only worth half as much, and Brendan Gaughan's only 5,000. So you could jam Elliott, Logano, Brendan Gaughan. You got a pretty good start to a lineup there. My top place differential plays of the, let's just say the top drivers, is going to be Ryan Blaney. He's right here, 7th in my model. He, let's just slide over, won the last 2 Talladega races. He's starting 14th. So he gives us some nice place differential. Even in top, let's just say 4th gives us 10. So he's going to get double-digit place differential even if he finishes 4th. Jumping back to a strategy thing here again, I talked about place differential. One thing with super speedways we're also going to want to concentrate on here is we're going to want to look at pairing teammates and or like manufacturers. So we do have manufacturer list here. Teammates, I don't have that up here. I'm going to try and add that here before the race, but pretty much we're looking at, if you're looking at the Fords, and I'd probably concentrate a little bit more on manufacturer. It seems to be the way to go. Like Fords work really well together. Like the manufacturer has obviously talked to all the different teams out there to ensure that they kind of work together throughout the race. Obviously, when you get down to the last 5-10 laps, kind of inside that area, you're going to see probably not working together as much. It's going to be one for all type thing, especially on the final couple laps. But with Blaney being your favorite, if you are stacking, I do like going Logano together as teammates, Ford teammates, and Penske teammates, starting 8th and 14th. That would kind of be my like stretch. If you're playing cash games and you want 2 stack, that would be my top stack without really risk. I mean, you can go Toyotas. The problem with Toyotas is they're all starting pretty much up front. Denny Hamlin's been really good here at Talladega, been really good at, he's won last 2 Daytona 500s, really good on super speedways, but he's starting first. So like for him to be in the optimal lineup, he's going to have to lead like, let's just say 50 laps. If we go back and look at the track history detailed here, Ryan Blaney led 63 laps here last Talladega race, started 12th. Obviously, he capped out. He was the top DraftKings scorer. We scroll over and look at some other races, 35, 32. We're not seeing that 50, 60. We're not seeing that one dominator. We're kind of seeing at these Talladega races, we're looking at maybe 3 drivers between, let's say, 15 and 40 laps led. So that's kind of what you're looking at. If you can get those 2 or 3 drivers in your lineup, that's going to be where you can separate yourself. Like Joey Logano started 9th, Blaney stood 12th. Logano obviously fell back at the end of the race, 17th, so those laps led really meant nothing because he only finished with 27 points. So finishing position is definitely more important than, say, leading 30, 40 laps. If this was, say, like a Bristol race where he ended up finishing 17th, led, say, 200, 250 laps, dominated, maybe got in some trouble late, he still might have a chance of getting into that optimal lineup with those dominator points. That is not the case here. So finishing definitely important, but those laps led can definitely separate you like we've seen with Blaney last year. So if anyone's got any questions, definitely fire away here. I'm not seeing any. I'm not sure if the chat's not working. No one's posting, but definitely if you got questions, throw it away. Who is everyone's pick win today? I am watching it on StreamYard. Trying to watch it on YouTube here as well. But, okay, let's go into some more value plays here in terms of place differential. Anytime we're at a super speedway, we have to talk Ricky Stenhouse. He's starting 26th. If you look at his finishes, he's good on super speedways. He's even better at Talladega. His last 10 finishes, 2nd, 9th, 25th. Terrible. Still, though, inside his starting position today. 3rd, 5th, 26th. 1st, 5th, 16th, 9th. So the last 10 races, which is just over 5 years, or just over 4 years, sorry, because one of those races was this year already, he has finished top 10 in 8 of them, or in 7 of them, sorry. He's finished at or inside his starting position in all of them, and top 5s in 5 of those 10 races, 5 of the last 8 races, in fact. So we have to consider him. I mean, he always seems like he's a high risk because he's very aggressive, but he's, very aggressive here at this track means people are going with him because they know he's good at these tracks. So he usually gets some of these top teams to go with him. So if you're going Stenhouse, I definitely like going with some other Chevys here. Almirola thoughts. Yeah. Morning, Liz. Maybe it is an afternoon in the East. No, it's still 11 in the East here. So Almirola was next up on my list. He's starting 11th, so there is a little bit of risk there. But if anyone has been, I don't think there's anyone that's been more consistent, up next to Stenhouse, which just seems crazy to talk about, as Almirola. 3rd, 4th, 9th, 1st, 7th, 5th, 4th, 8th in his last 8 races at Talladega alone. Absolutely love it. He has started 11th, so that does cap his overall upside. If we go look at the matrix here quickly, he's starting 11th. If he finishes 10th, that's only 35 points. He kind of needs, if you're going with Almirola and GPP, what we're looking for is maybe some laps led, maybe one of those 20 to 30 laps led drivers, the 2 to 3 that we were talking about earlier. But a top 5 is 45 points. I think that's definitely enough. So if he kind of finishes at his medium where he has in the past, I think that is an excellent play. And he's definitely going to be a core play for me at 8,500 because you can go stars and scrubs today, but the problem with going stars and scrubs, the scrubs are great because there's a lot of place differential down there. The stars are not great because they're all starting inside the top 10. Stacking multiple guys inside the top 10, I'm going to say it over and over, is just not optimal here at Talladega and Daytona. Building lineups today feels crazy when you build a lineup. Also, don't be afraid to leave $1,000, $2,000 on the table. Everyone's going to kind of have the same chalk plays. Like Brendan Gaughan's going to be high on, Ricky Stenhouse is going to be high on, starting 26th. Tyler Reddick, I'm just going to jump down the list here a little bit, starting 30th, going really cheap. We got Justin Haley, won the Xfinity race at Daytona, Talladega here. He won a Cup race at Daytona last summer. He's starting 35th. So, I mean, a top 5 for him, you're looking at like 69, 70 points or more in there. So, top 5. Top 10, we're looking at least 60 points from him. So, that's elite value at 5,400. So, with that, people probably want to try and jam in some of these top guys. Like I said, I'm more inclined to do that on FanDuel, where place differential is only worth half. So that's a superstars and scrubs that you can definitely go. But on DraftKings, I'm kind of looking at this mid-range. Like, just looking at the fantasy matrix here is a good way to look at the starting positions along with your points upside. All this mid-range right in here, you can build a lineup, a very comfortable lineup. Gaughan, Stenhouse. We talked about Almirola starting 11th. There's your risky guy starting inside the top 12. Come down, go Reddick. Down to Justin Haley. Now, I don't have DraftKings open at the moment to put that all together to see how much salary is left over, but I can pretty much guarantee you that you're going to be leaving quite a bit of salary left. If you're building 20 max today, I would probably go and leave 1,000 to 2,000 left and build a kind of a mid-range build here with like 10 of my lineups, and avoid Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Koslowski, Hamlin, all these top 10 guys. Just completely ignore them. Take them out of your player pool and make just place differential lineups, capping it at like 11th with Almirola, let's say. That's the highest starting position that you're going to go, and build lineups like that. If I'm doing 20 max, which if I get time, I'm also doing NFL content here after this as well, and that lock is an hour before. So with that hour window I have in between, I'm going to try and get to that 20 max. I'm going to do this build. I'm going to eliminate all the guys starting 10th or better, and I'm going to I don't know if I'm going to throw it in an optimizer. I'm not sure I'm going to have time to do that, but at least going to hand build 10 lineups that way. And then 10 more lineups, I'm going to kind of extend that a little bit and maybe get some Chase Elliott, Ricky Stenhouse, just to get some Chevy exposure, possibly throwing Bowman in there as well, starting 4th. I mean, that's very, very risky. This is kind of be more FanDuel. So I guess my game plan right now is to play the place differential game on DraftKings and then loosen that up a little bit and play some guys starting inside the top 10. Maybe not like inside 5th. I'm not really looking at that. But when I say inside top 10, loosening that up a little bit on FanDuel, I'm probably going to extend it to like 5th to 10th. I'll jump in on 2 guys kind of in that range on FanDuel versus DraftKings. Bergie 50, morning, buddy. Yeah, so you love Chris Buescher today. Yeah, so sliding down, looking at that. He's starting 15th, but he's very cheap. He's only $6K. If we go look back over here, looking at Chris Buescher, why can't I find him? He's 12th in my model. Yeah, 6th, 20th, 30th, 21st, 11th. So he's got top 10 upside. Obviously, almost anyone does, but he showed it here. He's consistently kind of in that, I would say, 12th to 18th range. That's kind of like his median finishing position. So let's just say, for instance, he finishes where he starts at 15th. Come down here, you're looking at 30 points. That's 5x right there. I think a lot of people will avoid that just because he's starting 15th while you got Ty Dillon, Ryan Preece, Corey LaJoie, just a little bit more money than him with a lot more place differential. You got Daniel Suarez below him, Justin Haley that I talked about. Those are 2 that stand out to me below. Even John Hunter Nemechek to an extent, starting 23rd. Those guys are going to be a little bit more popular. So I'm definitely on board with you with Chris Buescher. Probably going to be more of a FanDuel play for me, but I will have exposure on DraftKings as well. Because like I said, you're still getting 5x returns from him if he finishes where he started, which has been about his median finish here at Talladega. So if we go look at his super speedway stats last 2 years, he's averaging 17th. So we're kind of looking at that 12th to 15th, 12th to 16th, I think is what we're looking at for him. That's 5x return. I think that is excellent, especially if we're getting him at like 5 to 8% ownership when other guys are going to be 20, because there's a lot of risk. Anyone can get in a wreck here. The big one can happen at any time. Although we see drivers like Eric Almirola, who just never seems to get in a crash, never seems to have any trouble whatsoever at super speedways. Well, the top drivers in the sport, and I say top drivers in the sport because Eric Almirola just hasn't been up there in the final 4 of the playoffs, won a championship, hasn't won a ton of races. So that's why I'm saying top drivers. When I say top drivers, I'm looking at these guys in the 9 to 10 range, taking out Gone, obviously, but looking at the championship drivers, the guys that are there all the time. He's not in there, and they have a ton of variance here, ton of wrecks. You start looking through the track history of all these top guys, we're in wrecks all the time. Somehow Eric Almirola has been able to stay out. But the point is, there is a ton of variance in NASCAR alone, let alone coming to Talladega, Daytona. You want to play with that variance. So if you can get a guy with maybe not nearly as much upside, but is going to be super low owned, I like making some pivots in those instances because of the high variance. Brendan Gaughan is a high variance. If he's going to be super high owned, I am inclined to maybe fading him at 9,500 if people are still going to be on him and kind of concentrate around him starting 39th. If he gets in a wreck early, even it doesn't even take early. If he gets in a wreck and somehow finishes 35th and back, there's no way. Let's go look at his, even 30th place is only 23 points. At 9,500, we're kind of looking at like 45 to 50 points. We need a top 20 out of him. If he does not finish top 20, he's not going to hit value. So making that pivot to, if that's where a lot of people are going to be starting, that's going to be their kind of top spend out. If you go up to Chase Elliott, who's only 1,000 more, Brendan Gaughan finishes, let's say 25th for 33 points. We only need a 10th place finish out of Chase Elliott to get that same output at a possible, let's say, 10 to 15% less ownership. So I think it's a great pivot for GPPs. All you're doing is playing the variance. Why play a high-owned guy who has a ton of variance in himself and Brendan Gaughan when you can go Chase Elliott, who has a heck of a lot less variance and only needs a top 10 to, finish where he starts to get the same amount of points as Brendan Gaughan, who finishes 25th, which, by the way, looking at Brendan Gaughan, he's got a lot of finishes inside the top 25th, but he's nowhere near the same range as Chase Elliott. So that's just one way I look at pivoting away from those high-owned guys, especially at Daytona and Talladega, where the variance in itself is the highest it is in NASCAR of any track. Dave, how's it going? Austin Dillon, a good GPP play. So let me go down. I don't think I had him as a core play for me today. 26th in my model, starting 12th. He's only finished inside of that here at Talladega 3 times in the past. He has been doing very well this year. So, I think he's going to be very low owned because we've got Bubba starting 27th. Reddick starting 30th, just above him. Christopher Bell, Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece, Ty Dillon. So right in that range, right in here. Alex Bowman's obviously going to be really low owned on DraftKings starting 4th, but Austin Dillon, not into Matty D. He's just not the super speedway guy, especially Talladega. But if you're looking at that low owned guy in the middle, Austin Dillon starting 12th. Go look at the matrix here because he has shown, 3 times. He's got 3 top 10s in there, 14th as well. So we'll go look at the matrix quickly. 12. So if he finishes where he starts, we're looking at about 32 points. So that's borderline 5x value. I think that's definitely all right. I think we could live with a 12th place finish. Let's say Tyler Reddick, Ryan Newman. Let's say 2 of these higher owned guys in Preece, LaJoie, Newman, Reddick, Wallace. If 2 of those guys are, say, twice the ownership, even 3 times the ownership, possibly as Austin Dillon, 2 of them crash out. Austin Dillon does not, finishes where he starts or better. Looking, 32 points, 32 DraftKings points, and 8th is up to 40 points. That's getting into the 6-7x range. I definitely think he can be in the GPP winning lineup if 2 or 3 of those other guys that are going to be 2 or 3 times as high owned, crash out. So that's definitely a scenario that you can look at for GPP. That's another great pivot. Ty Dillon going to be super high owned, 6,300 starting 28th. He's been good on super speedways, 3rd in the model. That's why he's finished 17th or better in all 7 of his races here at Talladega. That's incredible because if you go look at 17th, that's automatically 38 points. That is, over 7x return on your value at his median projection. That's kind of where I'd project him at. I would say 20th. 20th is kind of his floor. If he doesn't get in the crash, you're hitting value at his floor of 20th. He's got top 10 consistency here, 10th to 12th place consistency. So I definitely like Ty Dillon. I do think he's going to be a core play for me. I'm probably going to have 40%, let's say. I'm not going to have him in 50%. I don't think I want to go that high in any of these value plays. Kind of that 30 to 40% is kind of my max on my favorite value plays, and Ty Dillon definitely one of my favorite value plays. Christopher Bell, I kind of just glossed over a little bit, but it's tough. I think he's going to be low owned, so he would be just someone to pivot to. I think he's going to be like 2-3% owned just with all these other guys. As you can see, I mentioned at the start of the week in chat to a few people that the rankings this week probably look absolutely crazy. Seeing Brendan Gaughan 5th, seeing Martin Truex 37th, Eric Almirola 2nd, Ty Dillon, a whole group of top 10, 4 of the top 10 drivers coming down here in the 6,300 to 6,800 range on DraftKings. It's just simply because it's Talladega, folks. High variance, place differential is king. When you go over and look at the model, and like I said, for anyone that's just kind of joining in, someone that's new, 2-driver Penske stack. Yeah, I talked about that in the beginning. I was just going to kind of go over that here again. I love Ryan Blaney, starting 14th. He's outside that. So my, let's say, core lineup construction is going to have 1 driver kind of starting 8th to 8th, let's say 14th. I'll kind of put it in that right, 8th to 14th. It's going to have probably 4, maybe even 5 drivers starting outside the top 25. And I want to have probably 2 starting outside the top 30. That's kind of what I'm looking at to maximize on that place differential. That's going to be my core lineups, not my GPP pivots or anything, just kind of my core. So for Penske stack, I love Ryan Blaney. To go full Penske stack, it's going to be GPP only for me just because of the rules that I just kind of set for myself. Thinking about it throughout the show all morning, pretty much all week, because Logano's starting 8th. So that's kind of borderline for me, but that would be my top GPP Penske stack, Blaney and Logano. I love the upside here. They both got, winning upside. And if they're working together, they finish 1-2, that sort of thing. And you nail your place differential and the rest of your lineup, that's going to be, you're going to have a good return on that, maybe even GPP win. So yes, definitely love the Penske stack. Okay. So I just want to go over anyone that I missed. I didn't talk a whole lot about Tyler Reddick. I talk about how he's going to be high owned. He's going to be one of those drivers starting outside the top 30. That's going to be a core play for me. Only once I want to bring up for some of these rookies here I wanted to bring up, and I should have had this load already, but I will load it here. Getting kind of the end of the stream. We're running about 29, 30 minutes. If you got any other questions, definitely throw them up. I will get them answered here real quick. Obviously, this whole time, my audio did not kick out on everyone because I didn't. So things are going good that way. Haven't had a screw up yet. Knock on wood. I don't have any around me. Let's hope it goes well. Because I'm going to be doing this more. I love doing these live shows. I appreciate you all tuning in. It's been a while since I've done, so I've kind of lost, a little bit of the viewership, but we're going to get that back. We're going to get the questions rolling here. I'm going to be running some free rolls here coming up in the future. They're going to be tied to the social media stuff, both for my own Patreon as well as for DFSR and over on Roto Pros here as well. We're going to be doing that. So speaking of Roto Pros, if you want to go check out Dane's article, he did it in Slack this week, very detailed, going over about 8 to 10 of his core plays in each price range, talks about strategy, and he is in chat leading up all the way until lock. You can get in there. I'm going to get you that link as well. And you go over to rotopros.com. And you hit the sign up link. You can get a free trial right now. And if you use RP50 as your code, you'll get 50% off once your trial is up. And that's either a 3 or 7 day trial, depending on what subscription package you choose. Okay. So other core drivers that I'm kind of looking at. Oh, Tyler Reddick. Yes. Back to Xfinity. I was going to bring up some Xfinity stuff. I was going to look at the last 10 races at Talladega for the Xfinity drivers. Actually, just pretty much a restrictor. They call it restrictor plate races, but there's no more restrictor plate. It's a little bit different now. So we're actually looking at super speedway results in the Xfinity series. And I wanted to look at Tyler Reddick and Bell and Custer. So looking at Tyler Reddick, 3 races. He won the last race at Talladega last year in the playoffs. He was 8th at Talladega in 2018 and 20th at Talladega in 2017. I did choose Talladega instead of Super Speedway. So we're just looking at Talladega for the Xfinity. Christopher Bell was 3rd and 12th, 2019, 2018. And Cole Custer, he crashed out last year's 9th in 2018 and was 26th in 2017. So of those, Reddick's been, a little bit more consistent. Bell's shown some upside. So I don't mind looking at either of them today. In terms of looking at some prize picks plays, I'm going to include the link here in the stream. You can go and sign up. 100% match bonus now they changed to. But for my drivers today, what I really like about prize picks in terms of NASCAR is you're picking over under on fantasy points, but those fantasy points are simply looking at your finishing position. So I'm just going to bring up, I don't have the link on the cup sheet yet. It's on the Xfinity sheet. So I'm just going to bring up that Xfinity sheet here real quick and look at some of those points. So I'm looking at Eric Almirola. 31 points is one that really stood out to me. 31 points, you're looking at it's going to be a push at 10th place finish, and anything inside the top 10 is going to be a win for you. So I do like Eric Almirola a little bit. And then kind of going over, I'm just going to bring this here so we can have a look at that. No, that didn't go over. And then the other one I'm looking at, I like betting some unders here. Brad Koslowski is one. He just hasn't been very consistent at this track. And at a 32, we're looking at a 10th or better. He has only done that. He hasn't done that in the last 5 races here. So there's a little bit of risk, but that's one. And then he could maybe go, I do like a Ryan Blaney over, probably going to Alex Bowman under if you wanted to go 4. So those are kind of 4 picks that I'm looking at in terms of prize picks today. All right, going to wrap it up here. I'm going to go over a couple more value plays that are going to be in my core today. Again, you can really just it's a lot easier to build a lineup for Talladega simply because you can just blindly pick place differential plays, and like 80% of the time you're going to get away with having an optimal, maybe not optimal, but at least a cash-in optimal lineup, not necessarily a winning optimal lineup, but you're going to have a good chance to cash as long as you know follow the rules of super speedways, especially for the Cup race. As we've seen with the trucks and Xfinity, the correlation is a little bit better from start to finish position, and like I mentioned in chat, it's the gap in equipment. So the gap between the top guy in the Cup Series and the bottom guy isn't nearly as wide as the top guys in Xfinity and trucks, especially trucks, where you got the top teams and the bottom teams. The gap is huge. So we're not going to see those Corey LaJoys, Ty Dillons, Brendan Gaughan's, who comes in and races the 62 car just 4 times a year at the super speedways and can finish top 5, top 10. We don't see that as much in the truck and Xfinity series. So that kind of reduces the place differential. But for Cup, we can definitely follow those rules. So I'm going to end the stream here with just going over those rules once more. If you've just joined in at the end or in the middle and kind of missed my talk at the start, place differential, place differential, place differential. My rules today in my core lineups, I'm looking at one driver kind of starting. No one starting inside 8th. One driver starting 8th to 12th, 8th to 14th, kind of, a little bit loose on that range. I do like Blaney, so that's going to probably be that guy. He's going to be my core guy. And then I'm really looking at 4 drivers starting outside the top 25, probably 5 to complete it, but at least 4. And if I do at least 4, 2 of them are going to be starting outside the top 30. And then I will kind of wander down into that 14th to 25th range, depending on the driver, and kind of fit him in there as well. So that's kind of my rules for today. Place differential. So if you find yourself, you're making a lineup and you have, 2 or 3 guys starting top 5, delete it, start over. Hit me up in chat. That's the DFSR chat, RotoPro Slack chat, my Patreon Slack chat. You can hit me up in the comments below on this video. I'll definitely help you out there as well. But place differential is key. You can hit me up on Twitter too, at Jager_bombs9. Like I said as well, that was mostly DraftKings. My rules are going to be a little bit different come FanDuel. I will look at possibly 2 drivers starting. Let's go 8th to 14th. Let's just keep it that same range. I'm looking at possibly 2 drivers in that range, just because of place differential is only worth half as much. Finishing the race, you're getting points for every lap that you have there as well. So I'm definitely, place differential is going to be a little bit less. You don't have to go superstars and scrubs. Like if you were to fit Brendan Gaughan, who's 5K on FanDuel, the points per dollar upside on him, even just the floor of him starting 39th, he can now finish 25th and not kill your lineup on FanDuel versus a 25th, like I mentioned before on DraftKings. We need at least a 20th place finish out of him for him to hit that value at 9,500. I mean, it's definitely there. He's done it before, as you can see, but not as consistently as I would like. I'm really starting to lean with a fade of him in GPP. And like I said, going up to like an Elliott, a Logano, and fading there, because those guys have more win upside. And if they win, they can kind of finish with the same points as Gaughan, finishing with like 15th, which is kind of like his high end. 10th is probably his high end, but more realistically with Gaughan. So that's the way I'm looking at it. FanDuel, a little less place differential than DraftKings. Differential, place differential, place differential. If you want to hear those rules again, I will repeat them in chat again before lock. That pretty much wraps up the show. I appreciate everyone coming back and checking it out. I will be doing this every Sunday to finish the show now that StreamYard looks like it's going to really work well for this streaming. Going to be going up to the, past my trial of it, because I can add a whole bunch more graphics and that sort of thing to this. To really make it better, add some more information to the stream for you guys, add some more in the chat, that sort of thing. But again, appreciate you guys all joining me. Leave your comments below, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit me up in all my chats. RotoPros, Slack chat, patreon.com/Jagerbombs. When you sign up, gets you access to my Slack chat, and DFSR.com in the Slack chat there. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Let's go get some green greens.